Greetings! Welcome to Discussing Tabletop. It is, of course, March 7th, 2020. This is our 140th episode. Hi, Joe. How's it going? How's your week been?
Yeah, it's okay.
I can say the same for mine. I still have the cough. It hasn't gone away.
And welcome back from PAX East.
Oh, yeah, no. It was an enjoyable time. I definitely would have loved to have you there. Or a couple other people that I've been talking to. Just with last minute and fundings and stuff, it just wasn't in the cards for a lot of people, and I understand that. You know, that'll be part of what we're talking about today, because today we are going to talk about PAX East. I'm going to talk about the tabletop-related stuff I did encounter there. Granted, it is more video games at PAX East, and I am planning for a small special with Liz the Bard. The two of us were both at PAX East. We got to play some games. We're going to talk about that maybe Tuesday. We're talking about maybe Tuesday. But regardless, though, for now, we're going to talk tabletop and PAX East, and then we have an interesting docket of topics to hit on. Magic the Gathering has a jump start, which is effectively a new kind of, I guess, portal beginners thing. D&D has announced a D&D Magic combination thing, Mythic Odysseys of Theros, so talking about the plane of Theros. Unearthed Arcana, the third Subclasses came out. Renegade Game Studios has announced Junior Braves of the Apocalypse, an RPG that the book looks like it would be a Boy Scouts handbook, so I think it's kind of got that Boy Scout guide. Plaid Games went independent. They're no longer under Asmodee. Ettin was released by Wizkids. We talked to them at PAX Unplugged about that. USAopoly is making then a Critical Role Munchkin. I guess with Steve Jackson Games, I'm assuming, but like USAopoly is in this weird area of like doing like branded products with people things. So
yes.
And we do have a duper discussion. We'll talk about Pearlbrook, the expansion to Everdell, which we did finally have a chance to try out.
Yes.
It's been a couple of crazy months, and we didn't have a lot of opportunities to play it up until a couple weeks ago. But I'm going to start with PAX East. So yeah, this is a complaint I'm going to give towards Gmail. I love using it for my work email, and I use it for things like, you know, getting messages from PAX. Guess what? There is an all mail tab, and they split your mail up. So I didn't even know I got a PAX East press badge until like right after PAX South, when I received it in the middle of December. That means I cut off over a month of time I could have been planning for it. And so, yeah, last minute, I managed to go with Jinx from my Records of Evil game. I saw Liz. That was great. There's a couple people I would have loved to see, like the Orcish Librarian and Scott Dalerick, the two of them. I would have loved to see them. They were both busy, unfortunately, for that week. But I guess I should start with the actual tabletop relating stuff I did. The direct tabletop is, I had a great meeting with Iello. For some reason, we managed to not, like, both of us at PAX Unplugged, no Iello. At PAX South, no Iello. Here, Iello. I talked to them about a lot of their stuff. They have a new dexterity game they're pushing forward called Flying Goblin, where everybody has this little catapult, and you're trying to fling this little goblin piece into this, like, box with, like, little holes in the top, and where you get it in is, like, your worker placement.
Interesting.
The entire idea is you're sending in, like, goblins on, like, kites to steal stuff. Hence why you're launching them.
Well, that's definitely an interesting twist on a work replacement game.
Yeah, it's like a dexterity game meets worker placement, so that's kind of interesting. I did talk to him a little bit about Smash Up Dark. Or not Smash Up, King of Tokyo Dark.
Ah, yes.
Apparently it's only going to be a limited run. So,
okay.
One printing and then it's gone. And actually, it's very interesting that they have the same artist do everything for the game, and they asked him to do Giant Monsters Meet Noir for the art style.
Nice.
Sounds cool.
So it's definitely a game, if you want it, get it as quick as possible.
Oh, yeah. And then they have a couple of things that are coming out towards Gen Con. And apparently also Iello is coming up with a new expert brand. It's going to be slightly different than a normal logo. and they have a like civilization builder that takes from 90 minutes to 2 hours. They say that they're coming out with. So they're coming out with some like advanced games more than just their basic brand, which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was interesting to talk to them about a lot of what they were working on. They're putting together a lot of interesting things, and it was a great conversation with the folks at Iello.
Did they mention why they didn't do the other PAXs this year?
Oh no, they did. We just ended up not being able to get a meeting with them.
Oh, that's right. I did. Yeah, we did see that. I'm sorry, my brain's.
Yeah, we saw that they were there. It's just that for reasons, like we ended up unable.
No, it just didn't happen. You're right.
I also had a meeting with White Wizard Games, which is an interesting company because they do a lot of like. I wouldn't call them. They're the semi-TCGs. You know, the ones that you buy the entire set of cards, but then so they're semi-collectible, or semi-CCGs. I'm sorry, semi-CCGs. Like we talked about, like Fantasy Flight does these too. They do like some 2 to 4 player games. They have like Star Realms, Hero Realms. Star Realms, I swear I might have played it with you at like one of the. I think
sounds familiar.
I think it was at when we were still doing the Tabletop Day events, and the one time at Barnes and Noble's in Montgomeryville when they had the event there, we got to play Star Realms because I remember it was like building like you had to have colors of cards that had like and you're fighting each other. They've also got like Hero Realms, which is a fantasy version of that. They have their epic card game. They've got some other stuff that they're showing off. I got to talk to them a lot about that. What's interesting about them is they're putting out the app versions of a lot of their games, personally.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so they have like electronic versions of a bunch of their games. I didn't get to test any of them, but they were showing off a little bit of some of them. There was issues with playing them at the show because they're normally needed internet access because it's supposed to be like they're like phone versions of it mostly. I think you can get them on Steam, but they were showing off like the iPad versions. And they want internet access then. And if you're not getting it very well at a convention center.
Yeah, they're not known. Convention centers aren't very well known for great internet.
Yeah, so it was definitely interesting to hear about all their different games and the stuff that they're putting out. White Wizards is very cool. They gave me a couple of things. I don't know if we'll have a chance at some point to test any of them. I'll have to see what I got. But they gave me a small like media gift bag, I'll say.
Cool.
Which was kind of neat. Of course, I ended up having 9 meetings, of which many were video games. Just because...
it's more of a video game-centric convention.
And if you're anybody that's ever been on this channel, I do some video games on Twitch. Not on YouTube at all. If you're watching this on YouTube, you might see something like some like directly tabletop-related video games. Like, the big one that I really enjoyed getting to try out was Pathfinder: Wrath of the Righteous.
How'd that play?
It was interesting. It's the sequel to Pathfinder Kingmaker, which came out last year, which I kind of dismissed a little bit. I thought it was more going to be like the card game, but it's actually just like a strategy, like kind of Neverwinter Nights with the Pathfinder rules.
Nice.
Where you're controlling a bunch of characters, you can kind of pause the action and order it. But the action was fast and furious, I have to say, on Wrath of the Righteous. The entire storyline that they had us doing a mission, that had me doing a mission for, was it's an attack on a city to retake it. So of course you're like leading these this elite group to like attack these places while your normal troops are doing things. So you'll unlock doors to let the troops flow in places. You're targeting it. And it's the Wrath of the Righteous storyline. So it's you as a bunch of heroes who have mythic powers, so your mythic levels, going after demons.
Cool.
And there's things like where there's like different groups you can ally or with. It's like you might ally with the Hell Knights, who are worshippers of devils, because they hate the demons too. So it's like, will you side with these people that you might not necessarily get along with for the greater evil? You know, it's like that weird thing of like, it has some interesting options.
The enemy of my enemy is my friend.
Yeah. I'm just going to adjust that a little bit. So it was very interesting that way. Again, I didn't get into a lot of it. They have some like interesting dialogue trees where you can talk with people, and you have skill checks where like you can roll the skill check directly from your own character, or you can use some people from your party if they have a better bonus to like do some of these skill checks.
Okay.
And they had a set party, but you could get more characters that you could sort of like choose what your party is for each encounter kind of thing. So it was an interesting game. Again, I think it was a little too cluttered for my taste just for the demo. I'm wondering if it's like that all the time, because I was just kind of pointing and letting things die. I wasn't like doing a lot of strategy when I think you could do a lot more strategy.
Right.
But it was a fun game. I actually had gotten a copy of Kingmaker from the Humble Bundle, or Humble Choice, I guess it's called now, from this month, so I might do that on stream, throw it up on YouTube before Wrath of the Righteous comes out. I didn't know it was as interesting as it was. I dismissed it all, again.
Right.
And Wrath of the Righteous is one that I was possibly going to do with a friend of ours, was going to maybe run it, and then he never did, and he never will. I think he still says he'll run it one day. Good old our friend Mike.
Yeah.
He's like, I'll run it one day. And no, you won't.
One day when he retires years and years from now, maybe?
I mean, I did check out a bunch of other things which I can say are like, have influence from tabletop stuff, like, let me get the proper name, because I have the proper name. I have like a list of games I tried on my phone. One of them was actually really interesting, a game I got to check out, which was Wintermore Tactics Club, because it was a tactical RPG, but the entire idea is, when you're going into the tactics combats, it's the players are playing basically their own version of D&D.
Okay.
So that was interesting. So it's adjacent to it. It's like this idea that you're like playing like a D&D game to practice tactics, because then there's also like a snowball fighting mechanic that's like in the real world, that you like level up and learn tactics in the playing the D&D game. It's really weird but interesting. So there was
a little meta, but that's definitely interesting.
It was really a meta game, and I liked checking it out. There was a couple other like very interesting games which I'll talk about on hopefully Tuesday. It's kind of in the works now. We're gonna get it soon though, if we don't do it Tuesday. But that's kind of like no. There was a good tabletop presence at PAX East. It's just, again, unfortunately, it was a bunch of sellers and a bunch of people that I've already talked to, either at Unplugged or South, when I had a chance to talk to a few people at South. So,
right.
And the only other unfortunate thing is Japanime Games didn't send me a news thing, and they wanted appointments. They sent it to me for South, and I never saw it because of that error in Gmail. Didn't send it to me for East. So maybe I'll have to bother them at some point, somebody in the company, just to figure out what's going on for Unplugged. So maybe then we can actually make an appointment with them. I would love to talk to them. But so yeah, good time. Missed you there, Joe. Would have been great to have you. Wasn't in the cards this year. Again,
yep, hopefully in another future year. I would love to actually even just check out the city of Boston in general. So
if I would have loved to come in maybe on Wednesday, because you could get your badges on Wednesday, and either then leave Sunday or even leave on Monday, like make it like a long weekend, like a 6-day journey that you're driving in on separate days. But I would want to come in with people and not have to get rooms myself. Like like one or two other people with me, and I could do that, because then you could just split the price too.
Right.
Anyway, so that was PAX East Adventures. I'll probably go back at some point. I don't know if it'll be next year or not. Maybe, if we can organize it. We'll see. We'll have to wait till we get dates for them. It's like PAX Unplugged. We have dates for PAX Unplugged. We at least can like plan for it and bother people to think about it already.
Yeah. It's odd that they're doing it 2 weeks earlier this year.
And the other thing that's odd, PAX West hasn't made an announcement yet. I don't know if they will. That's the big question. Will they make an announcement with everything that's been going on?
Right.
Because I think GDC got canceled. So. Anyway. Yeah. Let's talk about some topics that came up over the last 2 weeks.
Happened.
There's a bunch of stuff that happened. I guess we could start with this one here. Magic the Gathering Jumpstart. So Jumpstart...
So yeah, it's like another... It's kind of like the old Portal.
It's Portal, but like a little weird, I think. Because they have like... It sounds like they have... you know, a little bit of freaking like smash up in this of like,
yeah, because it's not that you're getting a complete pre-made deck. They're kind of like partial decks that booster pack size decks that you put together with other boosters to create a deck.
Yeah, each booster has 20 cards, all 20 cards to the theme. Most themes have multiple variations to make 121 possible 20-card lists inside a pack. So it's like, yes, you're going to find a theme, but there's going to be a lot of ones. And the entire idea is two themes come together to form an unlikely mishmash. So it's very unusual. Yeah. Each pack contains 20 cards centered on a theme. Which theme each booster contains is randomized, but each 20 cards is sealed inside the pack and labeled. So the packs are labeled. That's another important thing.
So you're not just going to get, oh, look, I got 5 packs and I got 3 of them that are pirates.
Yeah. 1 in 3 booster packs has an extra rare. It's loaded with reprints. Almost 500 reprints. But that's the other thing is, those 3, like, if I get 3 pirates, they each might be different.
Right.
Because there's variation of pirates. It has 37 new cards. They're legal Legacy, Vintage, and Commander only. It has close ties to Core Set 2021. It'll be released around that. It's not going to be legal in Standard, Pioneer, or Modern.
That's what I was just wondering. Is are they going to be considered legal, or is it going to be like Portal, where they're not legal?
They're at least legal in Vintage, Legacy, Vintage, and Commander.
Yeah, I guess with all the reprints, probably is the reason why, like, Vintage and stuff like that. It makes sense because some of the cards might not be compatible with the newer sets.
Yeah. Every pack includes a basic land that has art that matches the pack's theme too. A few even use thematically appropriate lands to M21, but most of them are brand new to Jumpstart. They're going to have a pre-release event in June. It's going to come to Arena. Yeah. I don't know. This is a very interesting idea. Because it's like only semi-randomized, I call it. Like, you have to figure out how many themes there are, how much variation is per theme, and that's it. Because again, they said there's 121 variations per theme. Which means with 20 cards, how many themes are they going to have? I don't know.
I know they mentioned pirates, unicorns, goblins, I think, Phyrexians, cats.
Yeah. And they also have things like Garruk, Doctor, they've mentioned. Other than the ones mentioned, those are the only ones that we have. And there's they even special Mythic rare packs that don't have variations at all. They're just one card list because there's only one true Unicorn deck. So like Unicorn deck will only be Unicorn deck, I guess. Or Unicorn pack, it's the same every time. I don't know. There's a lot about this that I'm interested in, but I'm also like wary of how they're going to format this that makes like, I always look at it like game experience, probably fun. Collector's experience, because it is a collectible card game, I don't know.
Right, you might get a lot of duplication.
That's true. Now, granted, and if you're trying to get those 37 new cards, or maybe there are some reprints that your Commander, your Legacy, or your Vintage deck could actually use in this set. We don't know, because when they're saying almost 500 reprints plus 37 new cards would put you at probably over 500 cards. It is a hell of a set, then.
Yeah.
Most big Magic sets are like 250, around there.
That's definitely a different way of doing it.
Yeah, no. It's definitely interesting. I want to see more on this before we jump to big conclusions on it. I think it has potential for an interesting way of being a starter, but depending on how they actually finish the product, might make a difference. So,
true.
So we'll keep an eye out and talk more about Jumpstart as it comes out. It will be releasing around M21. Is the big thing to let everybody know. All right. So, speaking of Magic, we're also going to speak of that, plus some D&D, because guess what? Wizards is coming out with another core book for D&D that is related directly to Magic. This time, rather than based on Ravnica, it's based on Theros. Now, granted, I could understand Ravnica, it's one of the more popular planes. Theros, I guess, because maybe the popularity of their own version of Greek mythology, or they haven't really done a book or anything like that on Greek mythology. And
yeah, I mean, they've listed Greek gods before in the pantheons and stuff, but I don't think there's been anything...
There's been, there's inspirations from it, but...
Yeah. I don't think there's anything, that's been, this specific adventure is all Greek mythology.
So, big things you get, rules for supernatural gifts from gods. That's great, I think, in any game, because, if they have rules for it, I would love to use that in certain games where, maybe you do stuff with gods. A supernatural gift for them. You're servants of a god in a Faerun game, maybe they give you a gift, So there is precedent for the rules for that. 2 new races, the Leonin, a cat people, and satyrs. Subclass for the Bard College subclass, the College of Eloquence. And a Paladin's Oath of Glory. Mythic monsters, and god weapons. So it's got a lot of interesting rules in it.
I'd be interested to see what they do with satyrs.
Yes, as a race.
Yeah. See what they get.
That's very true. Yeah, so it's Land of Theros, realm shaped by deities, deeds of heroes. If you don't know about it, if you're more on the D&D side than the Magic side we talk about, Theros is a land that has the gods literally interfering with the world. It's very Greek, definitely. It takes its Greek influence on its sleeve. It does its own version of a lot of the Greek myths and stuff. It builds a world that feels very Greek mythology without being directly Greek mythology, and they do a couple of things on their own, Archons ruled the land before the gods did, as I recall. So it's a little switch between titans and stuff, but there are titans out there. There are still races of giants and things. So there's a lot of interesting stuff. Talks about the 5 realms of the underworld, champions of the gods, that gain immortality, living myths. There's a lot that it goes about, and there are 15 Theros gods that they do talk about, which I think is all of them. I have no idea off the top of my head. Again, this seems like a very interesting book, and it has information I would love. I'm just unsure, unless you are directly doing a Theros adventure, if it would be worth the $50. Granted, if you're doing an adventure in Theros, maybe it will be. I have to say, I love the Guildmaster's Guide to Ravnica. I'm glad I got this book. but I've never really used this book a lot since I got it. This is really for if you're doing a Ravnica adventure. And I might at some point in time, but, like, it didn't help me a lot in doing, like, Children of Wrath. Unfortunately.
I see, I would use this book. I might not use it directly for Theros adventures, but I could see taking stuff from it and putting it into games. Like, ooh, I want a really classical kind of Greek-style monster.
That's true.
Taking those, or, you know, maybe I want a unique pantheon for this world.
And doing something in a Greek style, I think this is one of the things that I'll agree with you, is it allows a much better for a Greek style of adventure. Whether or not you're using a pre-made world and then adding a Greek style to it, or making your own world in a very, like, Greek way of doing things.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think that there could be definitely uses for it outside of just doing the magic world for Theros. But I think this means we're probably going to see more to come with the crossovers.
I would like to see more of that. There's definitely some of the worlds I would like. I would see, like, a Dominaria book. I would love that. The Dominaria's got such a rich history, and, like, the fact is, every time I do Children of Wrath, when you're trying to, like, look up information, it's got rich amounts of stuff. It is a world that is, like, they have done so much stuff on. I'm surprised they haven't done a book for it. Like, I understand that this is coming out in June, and it's on the coattails of the Theros block, which came out. The Theros Beyond Death. Theros is in people's mind because of that.
Right. I mean, I could also see them doing, like, a Phyrexian or an Urborg to focus more, like, on undead.
Oh yeah, something's focusing on undead. Well, like, probably New Phyrexia they do, like, doing a mixture of artifacts and undead and kind of stuff. I think that would be an interesting one to do a book on in a world like that, but I don't know what they're going to do. D&D has been putting out books in, like, weird places of, like, what they're going to do. I'm sorry. I am wondering if they're going to do a Spelljammer thing, because god damn it, if you haven't seen the trailer for Baldur's Gate, it's a freaking Nautiloid ship from Spelljammer. It's a Spelljammer Nautiloid ship. It's what it is. If you have any, like, knowledge of Spelljammer, that's what they put in that game. A freaking Mind Flayer is like leading that and attacking, like, a city on Faerun.
Yeah, I mean, we kind of have a taste of it with Mage Hand Press.
Yes,
doing,
true.
Dark Matter. It's very much
in
those lines.
Dark Matter and its spacefaring is so different from Spelljammer because those are similar in that they are spacefaring, and that's about it.
Well, also all the magic, all the tech is supposed to run off of magic.
No. And that's a very cool way of explaining tech, that it's more like magic tech rather than, which is a very interesting way of explaining, like, futuristic technology. I'm not going to argue that, but it's like Spelljammer is just fantasy in space.
Yeah.
There isn't, like, a technology level to it beyond people have flintlock pistols. Which, I'm sorry, you could have flintlock pistols in my Faerun game because of Lantan.
True.
Smoke powder is a thing that people can use for their adventures in Faerun, and some other places too, occasionally. So it's not so, like, technologically out there. And I think I don't know if they're going to capture that again. I don't know what they're going to do. Because, again, we've seen Eberron, we've seen Ravenloft, they've talked about Greyhawk in places. We've seen Faerun. What else are they going to do? Are we going to see, like, Dragonlance? Are we going to see Spelljammer? Are we going to see some of those other ones that they did, like their, like, settings? I don't know. The thing is, with how they're doing it, I could see them taking any direction.
Right.
Same with Magic. If we see more books like this, if we see a book a year, great. I would love to see that. Be cool. Just let's see what they revisit. But, no, the Theros book, again, it's coming out June 2nd, so it's a couple months away, and it seems like a very interesting one. But let's move on, of course, because we want to talk about some Unearthed Arcana.
Yes. I am very, very interested of course, because
they have an artificer.
It's up my alley. I love artificers.
Artificer, Druid, and Ranger this month.
Yeah. And the Artificer is the armorer, which just sounds awesome for what you get with it.
Yeah, you get heavy armor proficiencies, and the entire idea is you're modifying armor. So it's like you are like being like, I'm sorry, 3rd level you get powered armor.
Yeah. Well,
so
also I think
magic power armor.
I think also one of the interesting things is the armorer spells. You get extra spells that are just that you have prepared every day that don't count towards your prepared spells.
Mm-hmm.
Which is nice too. Like, especially one of them is magic missile.
Yeah, magic missile is great.
You get magic missile just prepared every day. That is awesome. It's such a versatile spell. That's why it's so classic. And it's a good, it's always a good fallback spell. So it's just like, okay, you automatically always have that prepared at 3rd level.
Yeah,
Sweet.
God. Like, it's cool because the powered armor is like, if it normally has a strength requirement, it doesn't have it anymore. It's basically like I put on a set of like plate mail and I'm like, ka-chunk, ka-chunk, ka-chunk. And you can
well, eventually it's just like a second skin for you. It doesn't even take, eventually it doesn't even give you a dex penalty for stealth or anything.
Like thunder gauntlets, a defensive field.
Lightning launcher.
Yeah, lightning launcher, powered steps, second skin. It's like crazy stuff you get.
You get Tony Stark armor.
Yeah.
Especially in lightning launcher, it's like, it can either be in your gauntlets or on your chest.
Yeah.
And I'm just like...
God. No, it's both silly and great at the same time. It's like that weird point that you do it. Man. And there's a couple of special artificer infusions that are related around armor. But the thing is, with infusions, anybody could take them, technically. So, like, some of these things, you don't necessarily have to be an armor to take them. And it's up to you if you want to, like, have them in that direction, kind of thing. Like
you could have your tools integrated into your armor.
Yeah. Like, you could attune with a helmet, and you could have helmet of awareness, giving you advantage on initiative rolls, and can't be surprised. That's pretty cool.
Mind sharpener.
Yeah.
Oh God, that almost makes me think of Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. With the lemon zester.
Oh, yeah, God. So yeah, the armor is a very interesting idea for direction, but basically an artificer making Tony Stark magic armor is pretty cool.
Yeah.
And Druid has circled the stars, which you roll upon starlight, for your abilities. Getting hidden secrets and, like, the powers of the constellations and stuff like that. Yeah.
Story form's interesting.
Yeah. This has got, like, an interesting flavor to it, I think. Definitely. You get, like, a starry body, which gives you, like, certain abilities, and then you can choose a form, chalice, archer, or dragon, which makes a difference on other abilities you get. You get cosmic omens, which you can kind of divine the stars if something is weal or woe. You become partially incorporeal with starry form, eventually.
Yeah, full of stars. That's really nice.
Yeah. God.
And Star Flare.
Yep, Star Flare. Or you can blast out radiant damage for fun. And
30-foot radius of you.
Now, granted, you can't use it for long rest, but you can use a 5th level cell slot to use it again.
Oh, no, it's a 30-foot radius within 120 feet of you.
That does 4d10 radiant damage, and they're blinded until the end of your next turn, which is a good amount of time. And you can get rid of a 5th level spell slot to use it again, or just a long rest. Your choice.
Yeah.
I think
that's definitely interesting flair to it.
Yeah, I think, like, the Circle of Stars, again, is thematic, really interesting. I don't know how overall I would say its playing would be great. Like, I think the armor takes both the theme and the coolness factor of, like, a lot of, like, you know, the abilities that I'd be like, these abilities would be cool to use. This one, I think, kind of toes the line a little bit more for, like, how the abilities, I feel they're great. Some of them are really good. Like, when you're using your starry form and eventually you get the resistances, the incorporeal resistances. And the Star Flare is neat. There aren't many attack druid spells, but effectively, if it's a 5th level spell slot, a wizard would be doing more damage, probably a better damage. So, I mean, it's like a...
Yeah.
Now, granted, this is like you teleport to a spot and explode, dealing damage to everyone around you. That's kind of cool, you know?
It's definitely a little more flavor heavy than gameplay heavy, but I think it's still kind of a cool thing.
Yeah, no, I'll agree. And the last one they're showing off is a ranger archetype, the Fey Wanderer, wandering between the Feywild and the material plane. You get, like, Feywild gifts, which are just little things that show off. You get, of course, the spells for it. You have advantages, saving throws against Charmed and Frightened, and get a skill proficiency. Those are always neat. You can do psychic damage with your weapon.
Yes.
Imbuing your weapon with some damage.
At 3rd level, yeah.
That's kind of cool. Like, it's like an extra damage thing.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's kind of like you're imposing yourself on someone when you attack.
Well, like, the Dreadful Strikes is, I would say, kind of like a sneak attack. Granted, it stays at a d6, but it's effectively what it is. You take a bonus action, which is just like a free action to do, get an extra d6, and it does the damage once per turn. Not bad.
Oh, and also when you engage in 2-weapon fighting, you can imbue your weapon as part of the same bonus action you use to make the attack.
Yeah, the weapons are magical and deal... a creature can only... but the thing is, a creature can only take that extra damage once per turn. With the 2-weapon fighting, it would be like, I'd want to hit 2 targets then, really.
Right. Let's see. Blessings of the Courts.
Yeah. You can spend a soul slot to do psychic damage. It's kind of like the Paladin's English. Think of word. Paladin's Smite. They expel spend slots to do extra damage when they hit people. They can do that.
Yeah. Well, the nice thing is too with the psychic damage, not a lot of things have resistance to psychic.
No. That's true. It's like the Bear Totem Barbarian. The one thing you can affect him with is psychic. So I can't say that it's not a bad thing to have. Then they've got the Beguiling Twist. When a creature within 120 of you succeeds a saving throw against being charmed or frightening, you can have a different creature save against it. Nearby.
And Misty Presence is really nice too.
Yeah, that's kind of neat. Like the entire idea of like, oh, you saved. My reaction means that someone else casts a save. Also, that's pretty cool. And the Misty Presence, where they have to make with some saving throw against you.
Yeah, or they just can't see you.
Yeah, that's pretty neat. I mean, again, like this one, I feel could be very useful depending on your build. It has some good flavor to it too. I feel like all of these are very well flavored for the idea of them. I think the Artificer has the most practical mechanics. The other two, like the psychic damage idea and focusing on psychic damage for a Ranger, I think is what makes it have the saving grace of like the abilities. Because psychic damage, again, is like a very unusual thing, not very like resisted. And the idea of being a Ranger that messes with people's minds. I mean, you get Charm Person at 3rd level. So I can see like, it being useful that way.
It's almost like kind of like a Ranger Rogue.
Yeah, it forms this unusual point in between it that's very interesting. Again, like, the only one I think I wouldn't need to test first to play is the Armorer. I've looking over the Armorer, I could see some very good builds that I know would work with that.
Yeah.
The Druid one, maybe. I think the Ranger, I definitely could see it too, because there are like the stealth-based Rangers and the more like roguey Rangers that are a natural part of the build. So I could see that the Ranger one could maybe work too if you're focusing on some more of that.
Yeah. I definitely could. Those two are the ones that I think stand out the most.
I don't think any of them are bad, but
No.
like, you know, I think these are ones that need to be. You need some play testing with them to, like, especially like the druid one, to really get a hold of what it will be. I think that's what I have to say about it. Is it needs a little bit more like actual physical playing with it, play testing, to really like throw out at you how good or bad it actually is.
Yeah. Well, that's why this is all playtest material.
And it's being released for people to try it out. And they, you know, maybe some of these, again, like, I get the feeling, because they've been doing a lot of subclasses, is they are planning for a book we don't know about that will have a bunch of subclasses. Something like a Xanathar's Guide, or like, you know, something like that.
Yeah, it's not the first time that, you know, they have made a book on stuff that they've done through this playtest.
Yeah, we've seen some of these things pop up in books before, but I get the feeling like this is like a ramp up for something like that.
Yeah,
it feels like it with the amount that we've seen.
Well, they've hit almost all. Is it almost all of them or all of them?
I'm not sure. I'd have to look over the other ones, but this is most of them. I think
it's at the very least most of them, if not all
I think
of
because
them.
I wasn't counting Artificer, I didn't think that they would have... I think they would have had more on this one.
Yeah.
I think they might have one more after this. Theoretically, because of Artificer.
Right.
Because I forgot that that was an actual base class they released. Just because it's not part of the core.
Yeah.
But, I mean, it is now an official base class. So... But let's push on, because we do have some more topics to talk about. As much as we enjoy talking about D&D and its awesomeness at this point in time, because I love the Unearthed Arcanas. They're cool.
Yep.
We do have an RPG that has coming out in the second quarter of 2020 by Renegade Game Studios. Junior Braves Survival Guide to the Apocalypse. It's creating a world, crafting your stories in apocalyptic worlds where kids are the stars. So it's an apocalyptic kids guide. I think it makes me think of, I think it was Fallout 3 had like a community of children that were descendants of like kids scouts that like once they reach a certain age, they're supposed to like leave and go out into the wasteland kind of thing. But that's usually after, like, you know, you have your early kids on because, you know, it's that kind of, like, the teenagers can have some children, and then, like, once you reach 20, you're supposed to leave or something.
Right. Oh, yeah. I know what you're talking about, yeah.
And you're supposed to follow in the footsteps of, like, their scout leader, who eventually left like that, too, in order to find stuff. And, like, I think there was supposed to be, like, another community connected to it where all the adults settled or something.
Yes, I remember that.
Mm-hmm. It was weird. Yeah, so it's the entire idea is you're part of the Junior Braves, basically you're Boy Scouts. But I guess you could be Girl Scouts, Boy Scouts combined. That's why it's the Junior Braves, because it's not supposed to be gender, you know, specific. And you come home and find that, you know, the world's not the same. It's been the apocalypse of some kind.
Oh, no.
It's a 96-page hardcover book. It's actually based on a graphic novel series that I didn't know about by Oni Press. Junior Braves of the Apocalypse. We don't know a lot else about it. The pre-order is on. You know, you can pre-order it now. But, like, we don't know a lot about the actual system is the only thing, too.
Right.
There's a lot of questions about it. Okay, so it is... Okay, I'm sorry. We do know it's the Kids on Bikes role-playing system they're using. So I'm guessing that with the success of Kids on Bikes, the idea that that is like your... Generalized, it's like the supernatural kids, you know, Erie, Indiana, you know, kind of like Stranger Things adventures with kids, you know, that's Kids on Bikes. This is like taking the graphic novel series that was about like a bunch of like boy Girl Scouts, you know, scouts coming back into an apocalypse and having adventures and having a book based on that sort of similar world where it's like, hey, your kids went out and went camping and you came back and it was the apocalypse.
I hate when that happens.
I know. What kind of apocalypse are you going to have? Zombie? Radioactive? Aliens wiped out the world? Who
Radioactive
knows?
zombie aliens?
It could be. I've never thought about using radioactive zombie aliens, but I totally could now.
Damn, radioactive zombie aliens.
It certainly is interesting, and I'm glad to see that Renegade with, I can't remember the studio that the publisher that works with them that does the Kids on Bike off the top of my head, but we sort of saw them at PAX Unplugged, but I'm glad to see that they're expanding this kind of RPG line, that they have similarities, but they're very different settings. I kind of like that, because didn't they have another one done by the Kids on Bikes people?
I'm 99% sure they did. I don't exactly recall.
Yeah. Because we saw a couple of their adventures. Damn it, Renegade Game Studios. Why can't you help me more? Your website is not as helpful at learning this out. Damn it. Oh, maybe I can find their catalog somewhere around here. Games. There we go. I want your RPGs. All your RPGs belong to us, please.
Let's see.
They had an Outbreak Undead. I'm going to click on the Kids on Bikes and see that they did anything. Oh, Strange Adventures, our Volume 1 and 2 were for it. Teens in Space!
Teens in Space.
Teens in Space! We talked about that before.
Teens in Space! Yes,
which was again, all three of them are very different settings, but for the entire idea of being, your young adults, teens, kids, going on adventures. So, God, it took me forever to even remember that to any degree. But,
yes.
No, it's, definitely very interesting. I'm glad that they're doing another thing like this. It's cool that it's based on a graphic novel series. Neat. That's something since I'm not familiar with the graphic novel series, when I did my initial research on this one, I missed that completely. It's graphic novel series. Neat. Those words were freaking in front of my face, and I kept missing them. I do that a lot. But,
it's okay.
So it's an interesting game. It's coming out spring, quarter of this year. So sometime between March and June, expect it out. And if you're into Kids on Bikes or Teens in Space, this might be one for you. So here's an interesting topic that I wanted to hit into because it's a little different. Plaid Hat Games is independent again. Their original founder is the now complete owner of the studio again, and they're no longer connected to Asmodee. They had been a subsidiary of Asmodee. Asmodee ate up a whole bunch of game studios. And personally, I was not expecting to see a break. It sounds like around 2014 in that area, because if you read, it's 2015 is when Asmodee acquired F2Z Entertainment, and with them Plaid Hat Games, because I guess in 2014 they went under FC2 Entertainment, kind of.
Yeah.
Because they had some growing pains. It was sort of it got Z-Man Games and Plaid Hat Games, kind of, I guess. But then Asmodee acquired them, and then all the subsidiaries under them. And Asmodee was acquired by apparently an equity firm in 2018, the PAI Partners.
So lots of changing hands.
Yeah. And they had some great times with Asmodee, they said. But after being acquired twice, in February of this year, they made the studio independent again. So they are just independent again, like as of February. Unfortunately, I know some of their games have switched libraries now because some of the games were still technically under Asmodee. And I think it is Z-Man Games, I believe, has publishing of some of the ones that were under Plaid Hat. I saw that. Let me see if it was Z-Man. Yeah. Mice and Mystics, Stuffed Fable, and Aftermath are coming into Z-Man Games catalog.
Okay, so they lost some things over time.
Yeah. Because these are the past releases. Like Battlefield, Tailfeathers, Mice and Mystics, including 2 expansions, the Adventure books, Stuffed Fables, Aftermath. And they're taking up the torch of publishing under them now. So officially, those are in the Z-Man Games catalog, and if anything new would happen, I believe Z-Man would take over for it.
Right.
Like Dead of Winter is still under Plaid Hat. And probably some other ones that I don't know if there's other ones that aren't under there now. And there might be other ones which are no longer, that are kind of sideways, that might be not under Z-Man. It seems like Z-Man grabbed a bunch of these, but maybe not all of them. I'm not sure. We don't know for sure how things are settling down with this. We know that Forgotten Waters is their first offering as a independent game studio. I don't know, like it's a piracy adventure in a world of magic. Cool. That's what they've announced as their first game directly under their own license now that they're putting out with. They're going to revisit Summoner Wars, which I guess is a one that they put out long ago. So, I don't know. This is an interesting one. For a studio to go independent again is just so unusual. I mean, I've heard of it before, but you just don't see it very often.
Right. Normally, once you're acquired, you don't leave that.
Yeah, normally it's that the people that were acquired from that studio might make a new studio on their own. Now, I can understand that Plaid Hat Games has a name to it,
Yeah, I mean, it's a known brand, so it's like, if you can keep it, why wouldn't you?
And I'm curious, like, if you look under their games, there hasn't been an update at it. But there are things that were mentioned, like Aftermath, Stuffed Fables, Mice and Mystics, which are in the list there that are still under their games that haven't been removed from it. I don't know if they are going to be removed from it. Battlelands too. Because
they might still cooperate.
Yeah.
They could do something like that, okay, we'll work in tandem with you, so we can still add to it, but both our companies will be attached.
Yeah, it's definitely an interesting spot for it, because it's like making a game under someone else's brand is how much do you have that. I think it's also like maybe some of these have more control directly to them and more are under the purview of the various companies that they were kind of eaten up by.
Right.
Because it was the F2Z, which was their French language partner, purchased basically Z-Man Games and them. And in a way then, what makes of the brands that they had under them. Like, the guy who founded this, where is his name? I saw it and I'm missing it. Colby Douch. He was still in charge of Plaid Hat, in that time period. But he agreed to kind of sell out. Because, I mean, he did this because he had, like, personal, and the studio wasn't doing as great. Which makes sense,
right.
If you've got some personal problems and things like that. So bringing on their entire team under a new studio seems like a good idea, especially like if there's some of the big decisions you don't have to do anymore and some of the control that you don't need anymore.
Right.
But it seemed like the problem was that you couldn't like say no to things at that point in time, and you're losing your vision of what your company is a little bit.
Yeah. It might have just been that they didn't like some of the direction that it was going, and they decided, you know what, we want to take back control.
Yeah. See, so I say like most of our titles, their most popular titles, are off at other Asmodee studios now.
Right.
Which is an unfortunate thing, which I think is sort of like, unfortunately, figuring out that you have to, like, in order to get this, you've got to lose a lot of what you had, and you can only keep some, like, cores. Like, Summoner Wars, something that they did very early on. They're revisiting it, maybe doing a new version of it, maybe, like, doing expansions for it that there hasn't been for, like, years. They're doing new games. It's just, like, it's interesting to see it. Now, they're going to revive their own podcast about their products and stuff, too. So, Plaid Hat Podcast, you can see that again, kind of the behind the scenes. And if you're a fan of a lot of the stuff they did, hey, we've talked about, like, things like Abomination, Comanauts. We talked about those. There's other ones that I think we mentioned before and talked about some things with. Yeah. So, cool. Interesting to see. I'm gonna hope for Plaid Hat's success. Fingers crossed that they'll find a success on their own.
Yeah, I wish them luck. We'll have to keep an eye on it.
Yeah, definitely. So, now, just a little follow-up. Did I have a... Oh, I didn't do something for that. A follow-up to a previous one we kind of talked about. We talked a little bit about Ettin when we talked about our PAX Unplugged adventures. I don't know if we talked about it afterwards a little bit. We might have a little bit more in depth when they had some announcements for it. But effectively, it's available now. I couldn't remember if we talked about it separately or not.
I'm not 100%.
It's a team.
It's hard to keep up with everything we talk about.
Yeah, it's a team-based competitive drafting game. 2 to 8 players. You don't necessarily have to have even numbers of teams, but it probably is a little better for different things. Rules are available, 60 minutes to play. It's a strategy game where their teams of 2 battle against enemy teams over 3 ages, drafting cards. With their allies on one side, enemies on the other. At the end of each age, a war takes place, and players fight their enemies for victory points. At the end of the 3rd age, the team with the most victory points wins. Pretty simple there. Featuring 8 unique nations for players to choose from, and ability to expand larger games using multiple copies. Cool. So there's a multiple copy kind of system in place here, which might be for up towards that closer to 8 players. You might need the multiple copies.
Right.
It's got some competitive and cooperative gameplay. The idea of, like, your Ettin, your 2-headed giant. That's what an Ettin is. If you're unfamiliar with the D&D creature, that's what it is. So, their 20-page rulebook is up. It's best with 4, 6, or 8 players, especially if you're learning the game. You can play with 2 or odd number of players, but they say go to page 18 for specialized rules for those.
You can do 9+ players with multiple copies.
Okay, so that's what it is.
Play with 16, 24, or even more players of the game at the same time, and they do have rules for that.
Yeah, okay, let's see here. 2 players.
Could you a 24-player game?
Let's take a look at these specialized rules. If you're 2 players, each player is 1 nation without allies. During P-Play's time, draw 2 cards from the nation decks. Okay, so it's basically... It's not difficult to do 2 players. Odd number of players. If you're the odd player, you play against 2 enemies using 1 nation map in 1 direction. So it's like they got some rules for 1 person being 1 team on their own. Right. And the 9+ players, yes. They have some, like, special rules for that, too. I'm not going to go into it because we're not going into all the rules of it. But apparently it's possible to do that.
Okay, so one copy of the game supports up to 8 players.
Yeah.
So you need multiple copies for every 8 players you add in.
Yeah, and it's just that neighbors have to be different nations, effectively.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they give lists of individual cards just so that you have an idea if you are using many together. And some special rules for like the drafting and the war and stuff, depending on the number of players. And then it just is victory points again. So
yeah.
I mean, I guess it's similar to like Emperor Magic, where you can only like go to either side of you.
Yeah.
And that way you can have very large games of Magic.
The only time you're going to probably see that is at like a PAX or something,
a big convention, or maybe like if you have a big party and you want to do it too.
Yeah, or a game, like a game store day or something where you have lots of people. You might do like a tourney kind of thing with this.
Yeah,
I could see that many people, but your average person's not going to be playing with 24 people. I don't think.
Nope, I will highly agree.
If you can find 24 people that you can roll, that you can game with on a regular basis with, you're freaking lucky.
Yeah, no. It's gonna be interesting to have that. It's gotta be interesting. I'm curious how it's gonna go then. If we would see it more. I don't know.
Yeah.
But no, it's interesting that they included it in the base rules. That's kind of cool. Glad to hear about that. That's kind of like a neat little thing that's like, oh, neat. You put that in there. Cool. So, that's Ettin, though. It's out. Available now if you want to check it out. Now, there is one final normal topic I wanted to handle today. Munchkin is meeting Critical Role. This is like... There's been a lot of, like, Critical Role stuff going on, and I'm wondering, their marketing team, what does it mean, overall? Because, like, is it a need for this much marketing? So USAopoly, I think we heard before that they were doing some stuff with Steve Jackson games, I believe, right?
Yeah.
And one of the things that they're throwing out here for Munchkin is a Munchkin Critical Role, celebrating it, the tentpole web series. It's Munchkin. It's a popular web series. If you don't know about it, I mean, most people have heard about Critical Role at this point in time.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's the world. It's supposed to be stuff from the world. God, I mean, like, I don't know much else to say about it. It's kind of like one of those weird things of, like, if you know Critical Role and you know Munchkin, that's what you're expecting. It really is. It's going to be $25.
Munchkin the role-playing game.
Well, no. Well, this is going to be like... It's kind of the reverse.
Oh, no.
It's like, but they did Munchkin the role-playing game. This is like more of an influence of a specific role-playing game in a world that's been built over the entire, many years that they've been doing Critical Role in Munchkin form. What the hell are they going to take? What the hell are they going to show off? How are they going to do this? Yeah. Are they going to do classes? I mean, traps and monsters, I can definitely see taking advantage of various traps, curses. Various curses / traps and monsters that have happened over the course of Critical Role. There you go, you take your, selection of things and put a little bit of silly spin on it. Same with various magic items, but are they, like, doing classes based on the main characters? Or are they just doing classes based on the classes that they are?
Right.
With a little bit of flavor to them. Are they doing your own unique classes? Are they doing the base Munchkin classes? Unfortunately, like, there's a lot of questions I have. Is it going to be compatible or its own thing?
Yeah, they don't go into a lot of detail.
Yeah. And...
So what's included, though, they do say, 6 playable character role cards.
Mm-hmm.
168 Nord treasure cards, 6 plastic trackers, 1d20, and rules.
So they might take it that it's more on its own in 6-player, and you take on the role of critical role player. But the thing is, the role cards could also just be like what they've done for some other Munchkins, where they have just like a sheet where you can put all your stuff on.
Yeah.
They do that too. It's going to be fall when it's coming out, so it's quite a ways away. You know, that's the only thing, is that they're saying that fall in North America.
Okay, it is a critical role card game.
That's what they call it. Yeah, it's officially licensed as a critical role card game. But
so yeah,
where does
I'm thinking it's going to sound more like a Munchkin game with critical role aspects.
It might be sort of like more independent though too.
Yeah,
you know, that it's sort of like you'd play it more on its own. I don't know. With the connection here and how they're building it, I don't know if it'll be like is it going to be fully compatible with normal Munchkin? That's the question I'm going to ask. Or because it's supposed to be very themed to Critical Role, will it only be compatible on its own?
Right. I don't know.
Like, the big thing about Munchkins is you could always mix and match them. I don't know how mix and match this will be, because this is the way that it reads. It'd be interesting to see more. And more about it. So, but Munchkin Critical Role, it's a thing that's going to be coming out in fall. 3 to 6 players, they say, 10 plus, 60 minutes, you know, the usual kind of stuff for Munchkins. All right, I think the last big topic, well, we're going to move into our regular segments technically at this point in time,
right? Because
we do have a deeper discussion. One that I would definitely like to talk about here. We're going to talk about Everdell Petalbrook. Oh, Pearlbrook, I'm sorry. I keep calling it Puddlebrook, but it's Pearlbrook. I do that so many times with this one here. So, we talked about Everdell before here, because we did have a chance to play test it, and we found it very fun. But we now, when we were at PAX Unplugged, we got a copy of its first major expansion, Pearlbrook, and we did have a chance to test that out. So Pearlbrook is interesting for a number of reasons. It is a definite expansion to the game and adds a whole bunch of it. It adds a new resource, Pearls. It adds a new type of special card that you get in your hand that doesn't count towards your hand limit. It replaces the big wonders with actual wonders that are these little models that are worth a lot of points you can build.
Yep.
It adds new events for the events that you can finish out. Adds a whole new sets of cards. Yeah. And adds like a little river area where you have this frog ambassador that you can, as long as you qualify, you can put it into the river.
And he's the only one who can go there.
Mm-hmm.
So it's definitely adds an interesting aspect. The pearls are interesting because they at least are worth something at the end of the game. If you have a bunch of pearls left, they're worth 2 points. And
you need pearls to build the wonders, plus to use the cards in your hand. So it's a resource that's hard to get. That's very useful. It definitely adds a big layer.
Yeah, I think we figured out you could only get, was it 8 pearls in the game?
8 normally.
Yeah.
Unless there's a special cards or something that we didn't know about.
That we hadn't run into yet, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's definitely like a very rare resource.
Yeah. It feels like you're not really supposed to build more than one of those wonders very easily. Plus then your 2 cards. And those 8, normally you're only getting 4 in the game. It's the first person to one of the 4 areas that have a specific requirement to go to those areas gets a pearl. And that can make a difference. That's why you can get 8. If you're the first person to all those places, Great. Are you going to be the first person to all those places? Probably not. You might be the first person to 2 of them. Maybe if you're lucky, 3 of them. So, like, getting 6 pearls in a time, that might be possible. Even that is very difficult, because that first season, getting 2 of something down, or 3 of something for green stuff, is not easy. You only have 2 workers, and it's going to have to be down to, like, a lucky hand, basically, what you can build.
Yeah.
And maybe what's in the forest, too. Because there's new things in the forest, and those... We didn't have a very good combination of things that made it very easy.
No, the one we played, Stone, was... I mean, Stone's always a more difficult resource, but it was a really difficult resource, that game.
Mm-hmm. Sorry, I'm snacking on something. I got hungry. I had it in front of me. I was going to eat this before I started. I had Pop-Tart from earlier. Like, I just like a... Because I'm fine with either toast or just normal Pop-Tarts, and I just had one as a snack. But I had the second one. Anyway. No, like, I feel like this does add a really good depth to the game and fits and layers on the game quite well. I think we were both saying, we think you could have probably one on the other side, because it does make the board very large. I'm sure that the board will be very large, because they'll probably get one on the other side of an expansion. I could see them doing another Everdell expansion on the other side. Well, the way
the board's cut out, it looks like it could fit another... Like, they have another planned, probably, expansion for it. Possibly even one on the bottom, but I think at that point is where you would have to stop, or else the board would start to consume too much of the table.
Very, very true. I mean,
but also nicely that they did have it that once you built the extra pieces, there was storage for them to stay built, which also is an important thing.
Yeah,
when they come out with stuff like this, that they add something like that in there. Otherwise, disassembling and reassembling every time becomes a chore.
Yeah. I don't think the expansion added a lot to the time, which is a very good thing, I'm going to say, because you can have expansions add to the time. This one, I don't feel like it did necessarily. Because, yes, you had an extra unit in the Frog Ambassador, but normally when you're the Frog Ambassador, it's not a big difference.
And you can't also use it every time.
Yeah.
Necessarily.
Granted,
sometimes you'll just sit there and be like, I can't use them.
Well, they have the discard 2 resources, discard 2 cards for a Pearl that everybody could use. And I think...
but you don't necessarily want to do that every time, though, either, because... then you're cutting down the resources you have for other stuff.
But I feel like pearls are very important, so it's like one of those things that I think early on none of us thought about, is maybe getting into that space the first season is not a bad idea. Granted, again, like, it's the card management, the pearl management, all like the resource management. Yeah. There's a lot of management, because cards are a resource in that game.
Yeah, and the thing is... that first season, you're normally also trying to build, especially if you can, a lot of green space, because they're going to activate
right away. Yeah.
Right the next season. So it's like, do I want to throw away some resources for a Pearl, or do I want to be able to build those extra places out right away to get the most out of them? It's a balance.
Everdell, I think we talked about before, is a very good sort of weird on your own resource / worker placement game, because you're always playing against yourself. Granted, there are people that might be on the board that might interfere with your decisions, but you're not paying attention as much to them. It's their spaces maybe, and like, delays and figuring out your order. And
I mean, there are few cards that you can mess with someone, but very few.
Very few.
Like, you can put I think there's a character you can put in someone's village. It takes up room and it gives them a couple negative points.
Yeah.
Or the pirate ship can also be good and bad. That was added from the...
The pirate ship was interesting because you can throw it at other people if they have pearls and you get bonuses.
Yeah.
The thing is, it takes up slots in their place. moving the pirate ships around, I think, is something that Hana didn't do, and she could have. She could have done it to get space. It's like, I would have thrown, if I was her, I would have thrown it out again. But the thing is, she would have still ended up with it. It was going to be round robin on the pirate ships. Granted, like, throwing it at someone that has nothing is just, I don't think you can. I think you have to use a worker. You could.
Yeah, you have to use a worker on it. You could throw it at someone, but that can be a strategy in itself, because if they're at a point where they want to build something and are almost out of space, you could throw it into their stuff and mess up what they want to do.
Force them to either use a worker or just lose that space.
Yeah. So that's also part of the strategy with the pirate ship. You're eating up space in other people's territory too, or your own when you have it.
Yeah, the pirate ship was an interesting dynamic that we got. I don't think we took advantage of nearly enough.
I think you're the only one who actually used it. But I never had one.
And Hana never had a real good excuse for using it, unfortunately.
Yeah, she had the most pearls most of the time.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, she was able to build the really high point wonder.
Yep. Yeah, no, I think it's the unfortunate thing that she was in a little bit of the situation where she could kind of use it, but it wasn't a great situation for when she could use it.
Right. And she's not as used to the strategy games as we are.
No. Which certainly didn't help, too.
Yeah.
But, like, no, I think Puddlebrook adds a lot to the game. I don't think I have any, like, I feel like it takes a little to get used to some of the changes in it, and I think that, the pearl management, I don't know if I like it quite as much, especially if you're focused, because the wonders are worth a lot of points is the only thing. They are worth a lot of points if you get the resources for them.
But as we learned, that doesn't necessarily guarantee you a win.
Yeah, she got 2 of them, and I got 1 of them, but, like, there were a couple mistakes that we made, I think, in the way that we're using it, too. I feel like is the only thing.
Well, it's anytime you're playing something new, you're not going to be playing perfect strategy.
No. And you might still make mistakes for it. So.
Yeah. Well, it's a good game.
It's a very good game, a very good expansion to a good game, too. So I definitely can throw out that pay attention for it.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you have Everdell, I definitely think I would recommend Pearlbrook as an expansion. Again, it's a big expansion. That's the thing we have to say about it. It's a big expansion. You need a big table for it. Everdell, you already needed a pretty
table, yeah, for Everdell in general.
And this just makes it that you need even more table space. I think, like, I was pretty close when we were playing it to be like, maybe we should have gotten out the, what's it called, for the middle?
The leaf.
The leaf.
The leaf.
I felt like we might have needed the leaf almost. Like, and especially if they come out with another expansion, like we think that they might, just for the situation of it, we will need the leaf for the table space. There will be no denying it that time. But Everdell, great game. Pearlbrook, very good expansion. I think it just adds the right enough good mechanics with enough kind of continuation. Oh god. I'm choking on my own spit. A continuation on the mechanics that they already have to be very good.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what you want, a good continuation on the mechanics you have also. So. Cool. That is our deeper discussion into Pearlbrook. We do recommend it if you have already played Everdell. That's definitely one that we've recommended before. Our normal regular segments at this point in time would take us into a Kickstarter corner. Do you have one for us?
Yeah, I actually have an interesting one this time.
Then I will leave it to you for this one. I do not have one, so we'll just have you throw one out.
Okay, so I found this. It is called Devil's Chess. So it's an interesting thing. It's an expansion on chess itself.
Okay.
They have 27 days to go. They got 61 backers. Their goal's 10,000, and they're at 3,661.
Okay.
It adds alternative ways to playing chess with cards. At the start of the game, you flip over one rule card that will applies to both players, which can add a different way of having to win the game. Like one that they show is the king. If the king can get one of the kings gets to the middle of the board, you win.
Okay.
Of course, regular checkmate wins, and also third way possibly winning is there are playable cards that we're drawing that you draw from every turn, as long as you have less than 3 cards in hand. And if the last card is drawn, the player that draws the last card wins.
Okay.
Their playable cards have random things that add to the game. I'm trying to see it. Like, draw a new rule. If 5 or more rules are already active, discard this card and draw again. Discard the card and draw a card. Draw a new player card. So, you can do stuff like that. There's chaos cards that come into play. Chaos cards are an optional mechanic that brings even more craziness. Before the game begins, decide if you want to play with chaos cards. If so, randomly pick 1, 2, or 3 chaos cards and shuffle them into playable deck, which can allow like switching places where things are on the board. Another one I saw which was really interesting was there was the bubonic plague, which kills all pawns. Everyone's pawns on the board just die.
Well, that's interesting.
There's also cards that allow you to resurrect pieces. So it's like, I get this piece back. So it's played alongside a regular chessboard. So I thought that was a kind of an interesting thing that, it's taking an old game and adding new ways to play it.
Yeah, well, that seems interesting.
So, yeah, and you can get the printer-friendly version for $10 donation or $10. You can get the standard edition for $30.
Cool. So, hey, Devil's Chess.
Yeah, if you're a fan of chess and want something new, this might be something to look into.
Sounds like a good suggestion. All right. Why don't we move on to our final segments? Our Week in Tabletop. We'll kind of do that. We'll hit that on a minute. We had a bunch of stuff over the past couple of weeks. We had Grinding Gears.
Yes. You guys finished exploring inside the Fedor's old bunker. Learned some more about the tech going on.
Just a little.
I also love the idea that you found some fans going around. You're like, these must be made for mincing meat or something.
I honestly forgot that line,
I love that. It stood out in my mind. This is the kind of thing I was going for. Was I want to see how your characters would react to a world that you're not familiar with. You found an ingenious way to use a metal plating piece that you had picked up in a previous room, kind of using it as a shield. You fought some turrets, and you now have an AI companion that's inside of, my God, my brain just died on name. Unfunny one. It's character.
Rimby?
Rimby, thank you. My brain died there. Inside now Rimby's neck in what's called a spike.
Yep.
So now he has another voice. Well, now he has a voice in his head.
Maybe another voice. We don't know if he had a voice in his head before. I'm honestly speaking, he could have. Rimby
yes. But now he has an actual voice in his head of a very ancient computer.
Yep.
That's kind of gone senile a little bit.
And I think last week I didn't have any games, but this week I had all 3. So Records of Evil, they built a little bit more of the cult, and then they took a Bone Naga to Chult to murder some Yuan-ti. Because they figured out the best way to go to get... Because the Bone Naga has something they want, and the Bone Naga wants to get revenge on some Yuan-ti, so they're like, where can we go that we can probably not get in trouble for murder? I know, the middle of a jungle. Basically, they're taking a Bone Naga to go murder some Amazon tribesmen for revenge, because apparently the Yuan-ti, the tribesmen, the Yuan-ti representing the tribesmen, their ancestors turned it into a Bone Naga. So, revenge. And so they're in Chult. And in like Mesero, which I described as Rio de Janeiro. I think that's what the best way to describe it.
Chult
is that's the thing, is like I'm trying to think of like a modern equivalent to describe these places. Like frickin' Kalimport, I feel was like this weird combination of New York City, a little bit of Chicago, and Miami. Because it's got like that kind of beachfront at the edge of a desert, but it's kind of got this like major trade hub kind of thing going for it, that like something more like a New York City would have,
Right.
It's like trying to find this like weird balance in between how to describe how a city is in like modern day Faerun. It's interesting. And then in Legacies of Kain, they had their auction. All the items were sold off. Some people got things that they probably wanted them to get. Other people's probably you're like, why did they win that? And is that a bad or a good thing? They don't know. They sold them. They're planning for murder. Mm-hmm. They've also made
murder. You have a lot of murder going on.
They've made a number of really bad deals, probably. Or good deals for them. They don't know yet. They just keep making deals. They moved from they did whisper down the line of deals for a while there. That was like, how many of these are you going to make?
Just murder seems to be a theme going on in your games right now.
Ah.
And we have Children of Wrath.
Yeah, so we had Children of Wrath, which went well. You continued Orvada, you continued your adventures, you met with the school teacher, you made a deal with him, you spent some time around the area, and now you're going to probably get the submersible next time. Oh, no.
No.
It's the Masuda.
It made a really bad idea of going to the island of Masuda.
The slightly haunted, slightly defended ruins of a civilization, or an island of shape changers. That
which
still
we also
has
went
a
on
population.
Someone's phone who's just completely insane.
Mm-hmm. He's totally gonna eat your corpses when he finds them.
That guy was so creepy. I don't know why we got on his boat.
Because he has only 5 gold to take you across and coming back and get you.
And probably the only person who was willing to do it.
Oh god, yes. Unless you wanted to spend a lot of money and get a boat, which someone would more likely later maybe retrieve. You effectively would have to buy a boat, most likely.
Yes. That's the only reason we went with the crazy man. We don't have the money to buy a boat. So, possible death in our future? Just so I can find out more about the other shapeshifters in this world?
Hey, you know what?
Sorry, guys.
He got you in trouble. We'll see how things go. It certainly has led me into a different direction. I kind of had led open for you to possibly go there, but with how things ended up, I didn't know you'd go right away.
Well, we have a bunch of time to kill.
You did have time to kill, just enough time to go visit it and come back. With a few days to spare, probably.
That's why we decided to do it now, because it's we might not have the time later on.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And what are we going to do for 2 weeks?
And just wait until Max meets his evil clone. His mirror clone, which will try to murder him and replace him. It'll be Max with a mustache, which would be really weird because he's a skeleton.
I was gonna just say, actually, wouldn't it be a goatee?
No, I think he's just got like a mustache taped on.
I think it should be a full beard, because then he could be, he's Riker with the beard, basically.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, oh, you look better with a beard. We're gonna keep you. I would be interested if there's an evil Claude, because another weird amalgamation. I guess his default form would probably be the tiefling instead of the human.
It'll be a fun time.
Oh yeah, definitely. And evil, oh god, evil everyone's going to be weird. But yes, so that'll be interesting. And then tomorrow we have the continuations of Grinding Gears with you guys going into a sandstorm.
That'd be fun.
But weather you've never experienced.
Yep. So, and that's pretty much been our week in gaming. And we did the Pro Book on chance we had. So, yeah. Because we didn't have... Did we have Tabletop last Sunday? No, we didn't. Because we did that the previous Sunday, right? That we had open. Before Grinding Gears.
Which... No, it wasn't before Grinding Gears.
So it was after Grinding. So it was last Sunday.
Oh, was it?
Maybe?
No, Sunday, it was the Sunday.
Okay, that was the Sunday before. Yeah, God,
I was thinking. No, I thought you meant like before the game. I'm sorry. Yeah, no, it was the Sunday.
I was trying to remember my schedule in my brain because I totally forgot last Sunday I was still away, and I did get back in time to have done something, but I was tired from 6 hours of driving. And technically, it was like 5 hours of driving, but
been several weeks since we had our other game. That's not streamed.
Yeah, things keep coming up or happening, or like Monday I was just exhausted. I was actually considering canceling out the Tuesday games. I was so exhausted from everything, from just like powering through the weekend, that I was like, I considered it, and then I'm like, no, I guess I can't cancel that one. Grumble, then I did it. It was fine. But it was like I got to Monday night, and I warned everybody I might not feel like it on Monday. Fortunately, I said ahead of time. I'm like, hey, I will let you guys know if I feel like something. And I was like, I don't feel like something.
That's why I didn't even bother you. I just figured, okay, I guess it's not going on tonight. He didn't say anything.
Yeah. But anyway. So, I think that's it for this week. Consult the table is the last thing that we usually do, which is just saying, if you have a question for us, go ahead and ask it. There are various sources, too, on Twitter for @Dracovin for me, @JWSeeker81 for Joe. On Discord for either of us, you can find, you can either directly throw it up into my Discord channel, link down below, or if you see it, you'll see our information on the side there as members. You can just throw us a message directly to. Both are fine. discussingtabletop@yahoo.com is a fine place to message us at. So there's a lot of ways to message us. Or description, the comments of YouTube when this comes up on YouTube, or now, if you're around and joining us live, go ahead and do it. So a lot of places to ask us questions about any of these topics, more anything else tabletop related, or even just a little bit nerdy related. And we'll sort of ask them. And if it's something major, we might bring it in here. Hi, Blaze. Bye, Blaze. Showing up right at the last minute, of course. But yeah. And if it's something major, that we feel like would be necessary, we'll throw it in discussion here when we do this now. So, if we don't answer it directly to you, right to your face. So, or as not your face, to where you've been messaging us. God,
to your face.
Like, yeah, you.
We're gonna stalk you. We're gonna stalk you, and find you, and answer you directly to your face.
How dare you answer these questions?
Answer? You mean ask? They'd be asking, we'd be answering. It's okay. Okay. Your brain's just a little foggy. It's still good. It's still good.
Mm-hmm. Anyway, we're gonna get going. Bye, everyone.
Yes. Bye.